edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Sean Tyson, and I'm here with P. Bush and Zoo. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Sean? Horrible week for my Bears. Couldn't get the ball past the five-yard mark, but it was great to watch NFL, man. It's been hell of a game last night. Great start for the Vegas franchise. Seeing their first home game. So it was a fun last weekend.
Man, Sunday was beautiful, man. 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, man, was on my couch. Didn't move for anything. No food, no bathroom, no nada, man. Just sat down and watched some football for like 6 hours straight. It was beautiful.
Yes, sir. Like the guys were saying, football's back. We had a lot of great games over the weekend. I was personally invested in the Chiefs and Browns game. Actually got the over on that. Not really a bet, man, but I got the over on that, so I was pretty excited about that. But, I wanted to get the guys' opinions on some of their surprises and their disappointments from the first week. I mean, we all know it's the first week, so, things can change. But I wanted to get their opinions on teams or certain players that, kind of took them for surprise or disappointed them a lot. And P-Bush, I'm going to start with you, man.
Man, this was a crazy week because I feel like, there were some games like the Jaguars and Texans, man. We saw Trevor Lawrence throwing 3 picks in his season debut. But we saw the Texans putting up 37 points. Tyrod Taylor looking like a solid quarterback for them. I know that they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I did not expect them to put up 37 points in that performance. So I do have to give a quick shout out to them starting off the season strong in a division they're leading the division right now. The Colts lost, they beat the Jaguars, and then the Titans get, stomped by the Cardinals, which was also a big surprise for me. So, watching that Cardinals game, everything was clicking. Kyler Murray on all levels, rushing touchdown, throwing it. I think he did have 1 pick, but was not a difference maker, clearly. Everything was working. Chandler Jones with 5 sacks alone by himself on Tannehill. That Titans team was probably my biggest disappointment for this week, besides the Green Bay Packers, and I'll let Zoo cover that one. But yeah, man, the Titans, they couldn't get anything going. Derrick Henry around 3 yards a carry. If they can't get him going, man, what are they going to do? Tannehill can't really open up the offense that easily. Julio Jones, A.J. Brown got draped the entire game. Maybe they're missing Corey Davis, who had a pop-off game for the Jets this week. So, some teams, as we said, it's week 1. They're bound to bounce back. But there were some great matchups overall. But, man, my biggest disappointment this week for me personally was watching that Titans team, man. That was just bad.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Yeah, it was ugly. As a Julio Jones shareholder, he dropped the doo-doo, man. He dropped the doo-doo, man. But he ain't the worst, man. It is that bad, man. Aaron Rodgers, man. And he was god-awful. That was the worst game I've seen from Aaron Rodgers in my entire life. He was unwatchable. He threw picks, made poor decisions. The O-line was fine, man. He had time to throw the football. I can't even blame the O-line, man. Defense is atrocious, but Aaron Rodgers on offense, my God, poor decision-making. He looked like a rookie out there, man. He looked like a rookie out there that didn't care, and some of those picks were unacceptable. And this is a guy, man, I saw the Saints, man, no Drew Brees. They're recalibrating the offense. Jameis Winston first start as the New Orleans Saints quarterback. My God, that man looks like a Hall of Famer after one game, man. My Lord, dude dropping tutties, man. It feels like Sean Payton is the QB whisperer, man. QB whisperer, like so. Drew Brees, like when he was before Sean Payton, nobody wanted him, man. It was coming off injury, but it goes to the Saints, Hall of Famer. Maybe this guy could turn Jameis Winston's career around because this guy had the talent, number 1 overall pick, so he has the talent. Maybe Sean Payton could put it together with a good organization, good head coach, and good weapons around him. But my Lord, the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Jones, A.A. both the Aaron's, man. I started both of them. They scrubbed it up, man. Horrible man. Call. Aaron Rodgers, man, do you know what mistake I did, man? Starting that bad man over my new favorite quarterback, Jalen Hurts, baby. Yeah. Jalen Hurts looking like a big fantasy superstar, man. But we'll talk about that, man, later. But, man, I give you that. Atlanta Falcons, an atrocious defense. But, yeah, that matchup was really juicy. But, man, my biggest disappointment got to be the Green Bay Packers, man. Just atrocious.
Yeah. Overall, NFC North in general, too.
Atrocious.
Not that there's really any other stud team outside of the Packers. We got the Vikings losing an OT to the Bengals.
Bengals,
really good offensively. I mean, they looked decent. Look, man, Mixon put up 130 in a touchdown. Burrow, didn't turn the ball over. Jamar Chase breaking 100 in his first outing as a rookie. I mean, that was definitely another surprise. Their ability to close a game and hold Dalvin Cook to under or around 3 yards a carry as well. Some of these stud running backs, man, just dropped donuts in this first week, and I don't think many people expected that. Especially the Derrick Henrys and the Dalvin Cooks of the league, man. But Zoo, I do have to give a surprise. Jameis Winston has to have the record for most passing touchdowns with the least amount of yards, man. He threw 5 tutties on 148 passing yards. I mean, he had the big one to Callaway, which was about half of that in one touchdown. But, man, they were just moving the ball. They won the defensive matchup, got good field positioning. That's a team I'm going to be interested to see how they trend because, Sean tossing out the beautiful poll out there yesterday. Is Jameis going to be an MVP? Who knows? I don't know. Posted that on the Bullheaded story. I don't think he will be. No chance. He's not going to be able to keep this going. But for doing that against the Packers in his first outing with the Saints, damn, dude, that's pretty damn good to put up a 35-point win, man.
Dude, Jameis Winston, man. Alvin Kamara, you got some fantasy players on the Saints. And this is without Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas can be on the bench for 6 weeks on IR. So imagine when he comes back, and if he comes back healthy, that offense is going to might be even more explosive than the Drew Brees offense of last year.
It definitely will be more explosive because the ball can get down the field. It's just kind of crazy, too, with the Saints. Like, one thing I think people kind of maybe didn't account for was I feel like they've always, even when they kind of been like so-so, they've always had a good defense. Like, they've always had decent defensive linemen and a sound secondary. So I always feel like when you got that, if you have a quarterback, like Drew has done the last couple or his whole career with the Saints, take care of the ball and, get that one playmaking receiver, you're going to be able to do some things. So like I say, I think that is going to be pretty interesting in the NFC South. Plus, too, the NFC South, they're one of the one divisions that was, Brady came there last year, but they always kind of have different winners, and it's a super competitive division, even though Atlanta, has been kind of down a little bit. Carolina's kind of iffy sometimes, but they rotate division winners, and it's usually a tougher matchup than normal in that division. So it's going to be interesting to see how New Orleans and all the other teams play. I think another surprise that kind of threw me off was just the competitiveness of Cincinnati. I'm not saying Cincinnati is going to be a team that does anything this year, but I do like the combination of Higgins and Chase. They also have Boyd. And Joe Burrow, I was interested to see how he was going to look just off the knee injury. And he looked, I'm not saying he looked like good, he was last year, but he looked like he wasn't concerned at all. He got hit a couple of times, got right up. So, if we're going to be looking at division, I was just talking about the NFC South. Hey, AFC North. I'm not AFC North, but what is that at the end?
AFC North.
Yeah, AFC North.
Yep.
That could be a super competitive division because I still got my stock in Cleveland because I liked how they play against KC, but Pittsburgh, they kind of scarred me last year because they played so well throughout the regular season, but they shut down Buffalo, so I don't know.
A big comeback in that fourth quarter, putting up 17 in that fourth.
That game was hard to watch. I don't know about you guys, but that game was hard to watch. Offensively, my God, it was bad. It was the reason it wasn't on red zone that much, man. Not much scoring. It's just a bunch of defensive touchdowns, man.
I meant to ask you this, Zoo, because personally, I think, look, man, the Bills, they gave Devin Singletary 11 rushes in that game, and he put up 72 yards. Call it six and some change a carry. Do they need to use him more? Because they threw about 50-something balls with Jalen, and he was about, I think, at about a 60% completion, which is fine. But they weren't able to get any plays down the field. Both Diggs and Beasley were under 70 yards. They weren't getting big plays. That's clearly if you can stop their big plays, if they're having to go up against like a Rams type team who does not allow big plays whatsoever later on in the playoffs, if they make the Super Bowl, can they actually break that open? I think they do end up needing to use their run game a bit more. That was the biggest takeaway for me, and at least seeing the Bills trend that way, because he was getting chunk yardage against one of the best defenses in the league running that ball against the Steelers, and they just kind of went away from him. So, I don't know if that going forward, that's what they need to do, but you're a Jalen fan, Zoo, so I just wanted to run that by you.
Man, Josh Allen, my thoughts about a guy. He's an athletic monster, but he got a cannon of an arm, but I feel like as a pure passer, still not there yet. He's more of an athlete than a quarterback, right? Yeah, yep. He's got a cannon, but the accuracy, like, let's be real. It's Stephon Diggs, man. Stephon Diggs have elevated Josh Allen from a scrub to he's a nice player, man. He's a nice young player, and I feel like that elevation of having that stud receiver, like his favorite target, he got 13 target, man. Him and Cole Beasley combined for 25 targets, man. So he was just throwing it to his two favorite receivers. So right now, like Josh Allen, like, you know, my thoughts about him this year, he's going to have a regression because last year was just way too good. Last year was close to MVP caliber. So I feel like this year is going to be a regression. And yeah, I was surprised. Devin Singletary, I'm not the biggest fan of Devin Singletary. Like Zach Moss didn't even play, which I'm like, oh my Lord.
Yeah, I think that's a healthy scratch.
Yeah. So just like Devin Singletary is the workhorse running back. Might gotta see if he's in free agency right now. Might pick him up. Might pick him up because that efficiency is quite nice. Like 11 for 72 yards. That's pretty efficient for a guy that's not the biggest back. Like he's a smaller dude. So yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, you know my thoughts about Buffalo this year. I'm not super high on him this year, even though they're probably the chalk favorite. I'm a fan of the Patriots. And yeah, the Patriots, I don't know. Mac Jones looked pretty good. He looked pretty good. He looked pretty good. He looked pretty good. I'm just looking up, just like, you squint your eyes, man. He's like Tom Brady. That looks like Tom Brady out there, man. Yeah. The same height, dude, tall white dude, man. Accurate in the pocket, not athletic at all, man. He looked pretty good. like out of all like the rookie quarterbacks, after just 1 week, he looked the best right now. He looked the best, and he played against a really solid team, the Miami Dolphins, man. Like that's a solid team, man. Like I give him a little above average. I give him a little above average team right now. So he played against a pretty solid team and like playoff contenders. So after one game, like even though they have a good defense, but Mac Jones looked pretty good right now. He looked pretty good right now.
Yeah, that was a nail biter, to be honest. I mean, for how it kind of similar to the Steelers-Bills game, you know, there really weren't too many highlight plays here and there. You know, it wasn't covered that much, but I mean, the Dolphins were able to hold on, and I was pleasantly surprised. I think Tua did throw one pick in that game, but you know, he was able to manage the game well enough there. But yeah, man. I mean, for me, the other one that I know this was my pick last week was the Chargers-Washington game. You know, Fitzpatrick going down. Oh man, I mean, they got some QB trouble. Heineke. I mean, we got Antonio Gibson being questionable with, you know, he's got some injury issues. They got a short week coming up against the Giants. I'm interested to see how they adjust. But look, man, that game, and Herbert. I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's gonna be. It might be a rough game to watch on Thursday night. But look, man, Herbert pulled it through. I'm glad Eckler was actually able to play. You know, he's got those hamstring issues. Mike Williams had a nice game as well, probably one of his best games with Herbert at the helm. So I hope they continue to progress, especially beating one of the best defenses in the league. So that was a game I was, you know, keeping an eye out for. You know, not too much surprise there. It was kind of low scoring, but dude, you got to watch Herbert. He's just going to keep progressing. And I'm so happy that he's on my fantasy team. That's the biggest thing for me.
So let me ask this. So I feel like, because this is Herbert's second year, and I'm guessing this is Allen's third or fourth. Josh Allen.
I think it's fourth year.
Okay,
might be his fourth year.
So I feel like this always happens with you could kind of say quarterbacks, but just with players. They have like, I feel like this is maybe potentially could happen with Justin Jefferson because he has such a great first year, and it's like all you can do is go, like only place you can go is down now. Like who would you take, Herbert or Allen, in the next couple of years? Because like this year you could see maybe Herbert taking another leap, and then after his third year, it's like, okay, is he going to regress or is he going to stay at that place he leaped to? Like me, if you're just asking me, I probably would take Herbert. And that's solely because of the players and the team around him. Because I like Diggs, but I feel like the Chargers, if you go look at the receivers they got, the guy they drafted this past year in Palmer, nice guy, kind of a clone of Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. Like they got that Guyton guy's a big play guy. Like they got four guys that are pretty young. I don't know how young Allen is, but they got a lot of weapons around Herbert. So I just feel like that's a reason why he's just going to keep going up and up. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's a tough call, but man, I think Justin Herbert's the more pure quarterback as a pure passer. So I probably go with him, but
true.
I think it's a coin flip either way because, man, close in talent, man. Close in talent.
Two of the best young quarterbacks. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Man, Sean, I gotta ask you about your New York Jets, man. Your New York Jets.
Zach Wilson had a very, very rough first half. From what I watched, I was like kind of skimming over that game because it was like a local game around here. So like I was able to like go in and out. But I thought for the first game and him losing his left tackle, I think probably for the year, and Becton, he played all right in the second half. He was like, now a guy I'm kind of nervous about is Elijah Moore because I think he had a drop early. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I see one reception for minus 3 yards, man.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I saw that on the highlight package, and I was just like, come on. But just watching him, like, individually, like, run his routes and do that stuff, like, everything I was saying he's doing, it's just, I guess, maybe it's the first game. A lot of the guys outside of maybe Waddle and Chase, a lot of, like, Kyle Pitts kind of had a so-so game. A lot of the first-year receivers and I guess first-year players in general, I mean, it's kind of standard. It's your first NFL game. You're not going to play the best. But I think Zach Wilson battled. I think he's, like, really small. And I think he just looks so small when I guess maybe going against the Panthers. I don't know. But every other NFL team is probably big too. So he looked, like, really small. And in the preseason, I feel like he didn't look as small. But I think he's got a lot of moxie to him, a lot of moving around. Like, the one thing I probably think he should stop doing is moving so much and running around, because I feel like that's when he, I guess, looks like he's at his best. But I think he had a solid day. He's just going to get better. But with his left tackle going down, I don't know. Because that was the guy they drafted last year who was supposed to be, this all-world left tackle guy. And I don't know who they're going to – and they got a lot of injuries on defense too, so I don't know. We'll see. I think he actually played better than Mac Jones.
What?
Because Mac Jones was at home, and Mac Jones should have won that game. He should have won that game. Like the game was in it. Like Zach Wilson didn't really have a chance to win that game. Mac Jones should have won that. I think Zach Wilson looked a little bit better. But I think
what are you talking about? Should win that? Man, Carolina Panthers ain't no world beater.
Their defense is always good though, bro. Always.
I'm talking about the overall team, man. They're not going to make the playoffs.
Well, yeah, Sam Darnold. You're not going to get me to. You're not going to get me to
division.
Talk about Sam Darnold like that.
Miami Dolphins have potential of making the playoffs.
Yeah,
one's a playoff contender, the other team is whatever. Yeah. Like CMC is just the best fantasy player ever because he's 2 players in one for some reason, getting freaking 89 receiving yards and 98 rushing yards. That's just stupid how good he is.
Yeah, he is ridiculous. Like I wasn't even big on him when he came out, but God, he's money in fantasy too.
Definition of a carry.
Dude, he's legitimately he had 2 players, man. Two players stat lines. Like this, and he didn't even have a touchdown, and he still dropped like 18, 19, 20 fantasy points. So I'm just like, my God, the dude's ridiculous, man. But I got to shout out my man Corey Davis for balling out in his game 1, 97 yards, 2 tutties, man.
Them 2 touchdowns. I'm glad I didn't go against him because the guy I went against, he had 1 receipt. Well, I would take that back because he had Amari. That was the reason why he won.
Amari Cooper.
Amari got him like 38.
Oh yeah,
and I was buying the off-season hype. I was buying the off-season hype with, CD's the number 1 guy now. Like CD's gonna be that guy, and it's just like CD had a decent game, but Dak was zooming them all to Amari. So I'm like, hopefully that trend, goes and trends more towards CD because I do ultimately think he's the more talented receiver. But I guess Dak just has this rapport with Amari, so we'll see throughout the season. But
the other thing is Dak was throwing that against arguably one of the best defenses in the league. And he was still giving 100-point games to both.
Run defense.
You don't like their pass?
Run defense.
Pass defense is
still a good defensive team.
Pass defense, I don't know, man. Like Amari Cooper and CD Lamb are getting some pretty nice routes, man. They got open.
They're elite, though.
Hey, man, the Chiefs struggled against them. They couldn't even score a touchdown on a pass. I know that partially had to do with their offensive line.
Oh, that's all line, man. I mean, Dak out all day, man. That old line looking like it's back, man. Dak had all day
without Zach Martin.
Game. Yeah, without one of their best old linemen.
That was impressive.
Yeah, Zach Martin.
Yeah, without Zach Martin and I don't know, Dallas Cowboys, man. I feel like I'm gonna be watching all their games because their games are gonna be all entertaining, man.
It's always
elite offense, and so defense, man. And I'm all for it, man. Great for fantasy football. That Thursday night game was one of the best games like in a long, long time.
I tell you this though.
Yeah.
Zeke better figure it out and get a bounce back. He better figure it out.
He'll bounce back, man.
Yeah,
I told you
figure
about
it
the
out.
matchup, man. I told you the matchup last week that he was going to have a bad game. And look what happened. He had bad game, man. But
let me ask you,
you know who's on the schedule?
Yeah.
ATL, baby. ATL, man. He's going to get a 100-yard game, baby.
Let me tell you, though, if you guys watched the full Tampa Bay versus Dallas and when Tony Pollard came in there, did Tony Pollard not look more explosive? He looked more explosive than Zeke.
Nah, he's just a smaller dude who runs around and looks a little faster, man. That's pretty much it.
He looked fast. He looked more like when they did that end around and he did that ball fake. Yeah, he looks more explosive than Zeke. He's not as big as Zeke, but he looked more explosive.
He doesn't look well. All right, I don't want to say he's more explosive than Zeke, but he just had a better first game. I mean, but I think that when defenses, I hate to say it, but you see Zeke across from you, or you see Tony Pollard, you kind of untense when Tony Pollard's back there. As you relax a little bit more because you're thinking, okay, maybe they'll run play action trying to throw me off here, right? Whereas if Zeke's in the game, you're taking that run game much more seriously. At least that's how I would if I was a D coordinator facing the Cowboys. So, I mean, Pollard had a better game. He's obviously one of the best handcuffs to have in the league.
Yeah.
But, man, I'm still putting Zeke in every time. I don't know why they're trying to split carries between them. Doesn't make sense to me.
And what Zeke was doing, he wasn't even playing running back. He was pretty much an O-lineman the entire time. He was just blocking for Dak Prescott because they knew the only way to win. The only way to win the game was to throw the football. And Dak was phenomenal, dropped over 400 yards. So that was the game plan of the coaching staff. So, yeah, Zeke didn't have a good game. But ATL, man, I can't wait. 100 plus, baby. 100 in the tutty, man. And Dak Prescott got a little tired after that game, man. First game back, you got to relax the shoulder, man. And what's the easiest thing to do? Zeke. Even I can pass it to Zeke, man. It's going to be beautiful to watch, man. I'm telling you, against the Atlanta Falcons, which is a gold mine for fantasy football, man.
Yeah.
Gold mine.
Yeah.
I also feel bad for the people who had Matt Ryan as a fantasy quarterback because he did absolutely nothing. That was tough. And you that's probably one of the
talk about a struggle.
Yeah, because I mean he has Ridley, Pitts. I watched a little bit of that game. Cordell Patterson looked really good. Like it looked weird because he had 84, but he looked super explosive running around and playing running back and stuff. So I think that's a guy that's maybe probably in a lot of free agencies. But yeah, Matt Ryan, that's another guy. I don't know them. The Fields pick. I mean, I know they went with Pitts, but how Fields at least looked in those couple of throws and a couple of plays against the Rams, I don't know. He could have looked really nice in Atlanta uniform. I'll tell you that right now. Because he'd definitely be pushing Matt Ryan to play better. Because I feel like that always works. When you got a guy that's like a super talented backup that's got drafted high, that either gets your starter up and ready or he's just going to regress back to the mean and eventually get his job taken. So we'll see how that plays out. But I also wanted to ask the guys on this last question of the night, what trends do they see as, I guess, real, and what do they see as more as fool's gold? Like, a lot of the players had big games. Fantasy teams or fantasy games were probably won because of some no-name player put up a crazy stat line. And then there was a couple of teams. I'll just give an example. The Arizona Cardinals, who looked really good on both sides of the ball. So I wanted to ask the guys who they think has more of a realistic trend or something that they would probably fade later into the season. And Zoo, I'm going to start with you, man.
Man, we're talking about trends, man. This is a weird trend going on with these rookie quarterbacks playing for like 2 possessions, man. Trey Lance and Justin Fields, what's going on? Let's just think about putting the QB in the red zone, and then they score a touchdown, and they're like, okay, bye, guys. What is that, man? Is that a new strategy? Man, you have like this nice stuff. It's like the same situation with like the 49ers and the Chicago Bears, man. You got the prototypical white QB in. He's the veteran guy. He's that pocket passer, man. He's the better prototypical QB. And then you got the light-skinned brother on the bench, man, coming in, the good athlete, and getting the tutty, man. So what's going on with that? Like Trey Lance, first pass, tutty. Justin Fields, boom, runs in, tutty. And it was a hard run. That was not an easy run. That was not easy. That was not like, it was like you actually needed some athleticism to get it done. So I'm just looking at him.
Great blocking on that play, too.
Yeah. So I'm watching. I'm just like, what's with these coaches doing, man? They're teasing their fan base, man, with these quarterbacks off the bench, man. And I know you, Pat, as a Bears fan, man. We feel, man. Justin Fields, man. Just a little peek of a Justin Fields. Couple, like 1 or 2 little passes. A little sample. It's a Costco sample of Justin Fields, man. It's a Costco sample, and you got you a tutty, man.
You know what, boys? I was really hoping. I know it's a sports podcast, but I was hoping we'd be able to avoid the Rams-Bears Sunday night football game. But guess we're diving right in. So there's only 2 things I got to shout out there. One, David Montgomery is legit. I think he is an unbelievable running back. He ran through multiple major tackles on that team, including Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. He broke through Aaron Donald to score that touchdown. That man is, in my opinion, I think he's a mix of not as at their talent level, but he has a play style similar to a Le'Veon and a Saquon. He's very patient. Balance is unbelievable. His cuts in and out he makes it with fortitude, man. He sees that cut and he's going to make it. He's not hesitant, but he's hesitant when he needs to be, right? So I do have to give a shout out to Monty, man. He's going to end up being hopefully a good running back for the Bears for years to come. But man, oh man, a negative shout out to Matt Nagy because that game was horribly play called, man. Horrible play calls. I mean, look, that first drive, I was like, hey, I'm down. Monty gets a 40-yard run. Dalton's throwing it down, somewhat down the field, moving the ball. I wish it was Sam Darnold damn near. But look, man, this team, they're impossible to predict. Nagy's just not consistent. He clearly doesn't trust his wide receivers to get open down the field or make a catch, make a play. He didn't. I thought he was eventually trying to set himself up to take a shot with Mooney. Didn't happen. I know the Rams have an unbelievable secondary and deep ball threat defense. They don't allow that, and they were pretty much saying, "Yeah, Bears," as they said on the broadcast, "Run the ball, man. We don't care because we're going to score in 2 minutes." That's pretty much what they did. That's exactly what their game plan was. The Bears defense is atrocious, but I actually didn't mind working some plays in with Fields just because it makes me feel that Nagy's actually tailoring some part of the offense towards him. He didn't do that with Trubisky at all. He pretty much said, here's my offense, learn it, right? But he's saying, okay, Fields, you have the ability to run the ball. You can make good decisions, quick, short routes with the ability to run around. And he finally gave him, six-ish plays, I think it was. And he scored on one. I mean, it was great to see him score. I was really happy for him, but they need to transition to him. I think after next week, they're going to let Dalton face his old team. They're going to let him do that. Yeah. If he ends up going down early against the Bengals and Fields is not the one with his helmet on and getting the play calls in the second half, might have to break my television, man. I mean, that it's just going to be, they need to make the transition. And I just think Nagy is too scared for his own job. And that's where he's walking on
that's what I think it
team.
Is.
That's not fair to Fields. That's not fair to Montgomery, who Fields and Montgomery running the option, man. That is going to be ridiculous. I think that's going to be probably one of the best option duos in the league up there, with the Ravens having some injury issues there. So, I hope they transition to him within the next week or so. But I do like that they're kind of easing him into it. So that's a little bit of a positive out of that game because the Rams are damn good, man. The Rams are damn good.
Yeah, Stafford like a brand new quarterback. I think it's just maybe the new uniform. Man. Yeah, he was throwing deep down the field.
They were nice.
Throwing dimes.
And was spreading the wealth to Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods got a couple touches. I think Deshaun maybe got one. So having that amount of weapons, that's just like NFC West, man. Like, good luck picking who you think is going to win that division. I have no idea. Because after I saw each team play, if you could make the case for any team in that division, any team, and I would listen to it.
I told you guys I got 3 coming out of that one at the beginning of the season, man. I
believe it.
I didn't have the Seahawks though, but it's going to be between the Seahawks and Niners, I think, for that third spot, if anything.
Yeah, I also think too with the Cardinals, something interesting I want to monitor is their running back situation because I know Kyler had the 5 touchdowns and he's running around and that he's crazy when he's doing that. It's like a video game. But regardless of that, I think because of his stature and just that method of doing that, I want to see if they still try to establish their running game more so they can really be – because we already know they can throw the ball. And like you said, they probably got 3, 4. I feel like every team has 3 to 4 receivers now. It's just so many receivers in the league. But they have one of the best in DeAndre Hopkins. And I just want to see them. The only thing I would want to see so I could see them trending up and maybe towards a playoffs or Super Bowl is if they run the ball and do that consistently. Because if they're able to do that and show that with whatever, I don't even know who they got. Chase Edmonds and
James Conner, man.
Yeah.
They're committing.
Yeah, they're committing. So if they can show they can run the ball consistently with those guys and maybe have some game, like, because they're going to have, inevitably they're going to have games where they're going to be tight or they need to sit on a lead or do something like that. They need to be able to run the ball. So if I see that from the Cardinals consistently, that's a team I'm hitching my wagon to.
Well, Sean, it's a good point, but they kind of remind me of the Bills a little bit.
Yeah.
Like they kind of neglect the run, but they use their quarterback more so for the run. So I'm wondering, if they're putting up 30 odd points a game, they have a great defense. We clearly saw that. Where are they really going to go after that? It's really hard to tell because Chase Edmonds isn't a true back. I think we've all talked about this. He's a third down pass catching kind of guy. But do you trust James Conner when he doesn't have the most perfect offensive line in front of him? Do you trust him to run for more than 3 yards a carry? And if they start getting away from that, they're not going to be able to just throw for, 400 yards every game. There's going to be, the Titans defense isn't something special. So when they're starting to having to play, the Niners, the Rams, by God, I'm very interested to see these Cardinals-Rams matchups because that's going to be a hell of a fight coming up in that division.
Take the over.
But they kind of remind me, take the over by all means, yeah. But they just after you're talking about trends a little bit, they kind of are reminding me a bit of the Buffalo Bills last year. Just they're going to be relying all on Kyler. They have a damn good weapon at number 1 wide receiver, and they have solid number 2s and 3s. But their running back situation is just questionable. Maybe not as questionable as the Bills, but it's still their biggest, possible trend upwards or even downwards, like you said, Sean. So that's a good point. I'm going to keep an eye out for that because thank God I don't have Cardinals running back stock this year.
For real. That's probably the worst stock in the league. It's probably the worst stock in the league.
And they ain't getting any of the tutties, man. Kyler Murray getting those rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, those rushing touchdowns he is.
Mr. Bobblehead.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You know what? Another trend I think that's going to be, you can bet on it and put money in the bank for it, is the Tyreek to Mahomes connection. Like, I just feel like every game they get one of those 75, 80-yard touchdowns. And it's always Mahomes. It's always him running around. Like, it looks like he should just, like, chuck it out of bounds and live to fight another down. He just – like, that one where he threw, it almost felt like –
underthrown.
I guess you could say, you could maybe say he was trying to throw him open.
On purpose.
Yeah, it was just nuts. It's like every game is like that. They have games like that. Like,
dude, they do the same thing every time, man. They go down against a good team, and then they make their comeback in the fourth quarter, man. It's like this. I've seen this so many times last year. It's actually insane. Oh, this happens over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, man, because if that punter can catch that ball, man, it's a totally different game. I mean, he gifted that touchdown to Mahomes, man.
God.
He just bobbles it and he tries to start running for it. I was like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Yeah, the punter was
horrible.
The punter was rusty, man. He didn't have to punt that many times in that game, man. Cleveland was freaking balling, man. Like Baker Mayfield and
they were
Chubbs, Chubbs 2 tutties, man. Jesus.
And that was without Odell.
Yeah, man, they don't really need Odell.
Sure.
I wonder what that is. That injury. I guess they said it was his knee, but I mean, I don't know if it's just a precaution because of, I guess he had off-season surgery and he's just trying to get back right, or if that's going to be more of an extended thing. I don't know. I've been saying they should have traded. I
don't know what you can get for him though. The dude's injury prone. He hasn't been that good in the last 3 years. Like statistically wise, he's been a shell of a former player. Mm-hmm. And what can you really get from him? He's like a diva too. So
you can probably get at least
third, 4th rounder.
Yeah, at least I'd say a 4th. You can get a 4th for him. I give up a 4th, and if he's like balls this year, like a 3rd. But if they would have gave him up before the injury, it would have been a 2nd rounder. That would have been a nice 2nd rounder too. That you'd have to give up. But I mean, I don't know. Odell, I feel like, maybe he can resurrect his career and get the rapport with Baker because. The guy that was in there for him, name was Schwartz, rookie. he was balling. And he had a catch. I don't know if you guys watched the full game, but he had a catch. I think it was on a third down that he caught, and just the DB made a heck of a play and knocked it out of his hand. But that would have changed the game because I think they were up. I don't know how many points they were up, but if they would have got that first down, they probably would have been a field goal range and put it to a point. Yeah, it would have put them to a point where KC would have really been having to drive the whole field. But yeah, that punter changed the whole entire game. So I don't know. That was probably my favorite game until last night that I watched the entire game. So or the entire weekend. Yeah.
Shout out Derek Carr, man. He stepped the hell up in that game.
He really did.
Lamar kind of choked there, to be honest.
That fumble was
two fumbles in that game.
Yeah, that fumble was
two
wild.
fumbles, and they were both pivotal. Yeah, the Raiders scored off both. And look, man, he did make a couple good deep throws. I'll give Lamar that. He was hitting some of those deep throws. Mark Andrews got hit on that one play.
See that Mark Andrews drop,
would have given them a first round. Well, it was all. I mean, it hit his hands and he had it. But I will say on the replay, it was a beautiful hit by that safety on Vegas. I'm not sure what his name was, but in the end, the Raiders won twice, pretty much. Man, they celebrated twice.
They did. That was hilarious, man.
Wow.
Dude, you just see all the guys
Vegas
dapping each
style.
other up, man. I'm like, yo, this game's not over yet.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Lamar was about to hand his jersey off. He almost traded it twice.
Yeah. I think the Raiders, I think that was a good win by them. I don't expect much from them this year.
I'm buying zero shares,
6-11.
Yeah. I think it's mainly because of Derek Carr.
Is that what Peyton Manning said? That was hilarious.
Peyton Manning, first play of the game. That was my favorite moment of the week. First play of the game. Carr throws a back shoulder to Darren Waller. Drops it, hits off his hands. He goes 6-11. That's what it's telling me right there. 6-11 season for Vegas.
Waller.
And then Eli called him out on it when they won. That was my favorite moment. And Peyton just completely brushed it off his shoulders. Like, yeah, I didn't say that. What are you talking about?
That's
But I still think they're going to have a mediocre season.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
it reminds me of last year when they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, man. They have these epic wins, but then you look at the records, like mediocre. It's so mediocre.
I feel like it all points back to their head coach. Like, if you want to think of a team that's like the roller coaster of the NFL, it's the Raiders. And this points all to their head coach. Because John Gruden's just super like volatile and just crazy, and that's just whatever. But I mean, like you say, I think he's sitting pretty because he knows he's got time because of that contract they gave him. So I don't know. We'll see. I think this year, if it's really bad, he's got to turn it up next year, or they'll probably get him out of there. Because I feel like in the NFL, they'll eat the contract. They don't care. Like if you're underperforming, they'll just get you out of there. They don't have to answer to nobody, especially all these billionaires. So yeah. But that's it for all the trends and stuff like that. Like I say, it's week 1. I put up a lot of stuff on the Bullheaded account, just things that came to mind of trends and things we might see in the future. Jalen Hurts is another one I had to say really quickly. Did really well for me in fantasy, even though I didn't win my first week. He did really well for me in fantasy. I know it was Atlanta, but I do like that he was spreading the ball around.
He looked good, though.
Yeah, spreading it around to everybody.
He did.
He looks like he has improved as a passer.
Yeah, he has.
He has improved.
That was my biggest surprise. Yep,
Yeah.
I agree.
I think he missed like
getting
one
Devontae
throw.
involved as well.
He missed like one throw to that tight end on the side that probably would have been another touchdown. But he had to like stop for it. But yeah, Jalen looked really, and it was decisive throws too. Only thing I was worried about at the beginning was like, I don't know if he's gonna get any rushing yards because he just looked like he was like doing any options to run. But then he started like getting those first downs and escaping through the pocket. I was like, okay, yeah, that's Jalen. So I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, he's gonna have a good year. I think it's just as long as he keeps getting confidence to play. Yeah. And then if you think about his division, like I know the Giants and the Redskins are probably the only team that's like, that might be a tough game for Jalen, but because they did everything they could to Herbert, he was able to still get through, but he didn't have a great statistical game. But Jalen was a nice surprise, and I think he's just going to keep trending up, especially with the receivers. And I feel like their offensive line looked really good, really, really good. I guess because they're all healthy.
And the new head coach, man, Sirianni.
Yeah. He probably did everything in his playbook and probably catered everything towards Jalen. So that probably makes more sense to why he looked amazing. And I just think he's going to keep trending up and up. And they have two good backs in Sanders and the rookie Gainwell.
Boston.
Gainwell? You think Gainwell's a good back?
Yeah.
Gainwell did pretty good in that game. Boston Scott didn't play at all.
Man, he got a tootie, man. You got Tutty, like that's solid. Okay,
Once again, boys, ATL. It's ATL. Let's. I just want to see how teams adjust to Jalen. I want to see how they.
We'll
adjust
find
to
out
him
next week, man,
because-
against the
For real.
49ers.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's gonna be a
And that's
true
what I was
litmus
just
test.
about to say.
Oh,
Litmus
man.
test right there. Because the one thing about the 49ers, they got some dudes up front. So he's gonna have to, if he's gonna be running around, he better get down. So he doesn't get smacked. But like I say, again, it was week 1. We got a lot of trends going in different directions and things like that. As you guys know, we're gonna be talking a lot of NFL. Like I said, that's really the only sport that matters right now. Not trying to be insensitive to other sports, but you guys know what it is. Next month in October, there'll be some basketball, things like that. So we could probably get into that. But right now, it's just mainly football, NFL, things of that nature. So make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe to our Instagram page, bullheaded_pod. Be putting up reels, all kind of different content with posts, things like that, stories. Make sure you guys subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and trying to get us on SoundCloud. I think they're trying to make us pay now, which I didn't know SoundCloud was doing that. So I'm going to try to see and figure that out so we can get on SoundCloud too, because I know a lot of people on SoundCloud listening. So make sure you guys look out for that. And for me, Zoo and P. Bush, we're out.